Have you ever pondered over the intricate relationship between France and its former African colonies? This dynamic is a tapestry woven with threads of history, politics, and economics. Delve into the historical context of French colonialism in Africa, specifically focusing on countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. The story of French involvement in Africa dates back to the late 19th century, when the scramble for Africa was in full swing. France, along with other European powers, was keen to establish its dominion over the resource-rich continent. These three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, were once part of French West Africa, a federation established by France in the late 19th century. This federation was a complex web of territories, each with its unique cultural, political, and economic fabric. For nearly a century, these nations were under French rule, and French influence permeated every aspect of their societies, from language and education to politics and economy. However, the winds of change started blowing in the mid-20th century. The wave of decolonization that swept across Africa led to the dissolution of French West Africa. One by one, these nations gained their independence, starting with Niger and Mali in 1960, followed by Burkina Faso a year later. But independence was just the first step in a long journey. The ghost of colonialism lingered, and the newly independent nations found themselves navigating a complex post-colonial relationship with France. Over the years, this relationship has been fraught with tension. On one hand, France has played a crucial role in the economic and political spheres of these countries. On the other hand, the perceived neo-colonial influence of France has been a source of contention and sparked calls for greater autonomy. Fast forward to the present day, and we find these nations in a fascinating phase of their journey. They are striving to carve out their own path, free from the shadow of their colonial past. This begs the question, why are these nations striving to dissociate from France and Western influences? The drive for dissociation is fueled by a myriad of factors, each unique to the country and its history. The political landscape of countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger has been significantly shaped by their colonial past. The influence of France is deeply woven into the fabric of their governance and policy-making, leading to a political system that often mirrors French ideologies. However, this influence is increasingly being questioned. A growing sentiment of nationalism is motivating these countries to redefine their political identity, seeking a departure from Western influences and fostering homegrown political ideologies. On the economic front, the drive for dissociation is just as strong. The economies of these nations have traditionally been heavily dependent on France and other Western countries for trade and aid. This dependency has often been criticized for stifling local industries and hindering economic growth. By dissociating, these countries hope to broaden their economic horizons, attracting new trade partners and investments, and nurturing local industries to stimulate economic growth. The cultural factors, too, play a significant role in this drive. The imposition of Western culture and values, a remnant from the colonial era, has often led to cultural conflicts. The desire to preserve and promote local cultures, languages, traditions, and values is a strong driving force behind the dissociation movement. These factors, political, economic, and cultural, are not isolated. They are deeply interconnected, each influencing and being influenced by the others. The political drive for dissociation, for instance, fuels economic changes, which in turn impact cultural shifts. Over time, these factors have evolved, intertwining and reinforcing each other, amplifying the drive for dissociation. It's important to note that the decision to dissociate is not an impulsive reaction. It's a strategic move underpinned by a deep understanding of the potential benefits and challenges. It's a calculated risk, taken with the hope of fostering economic improvement and paving the way for a future where these countries are not just spectators, but active players on the global stage. The decision to dissociate is not taken lightly. It's a strategic move to foster economic improvement. In the face of challenges, economic improvement shines as a beacon of hope for these nations. As we delve deeper into the reasons behind the drive for dissociation, an underlying theme emerges: the quest for self-sufficiency. The nations of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger yearn to break away from the constraints of their past and stride confidently into a future of their own making. A future where they stand sturdy on their own 2 feet, unshackled from the chains of dependence. The crux of this vision lies in gaining control over their own resources. For too long, these nations have seen their wealth siphoned off, their resources exploited, and the fruits of their land enjoyed by others. Dissociation offers the tantalizing prospect of regaining control, of ensuring that the wealth generated from their land, their minerals, their people, stays within their borders and benefits their own populace. But dissociation is not merely about drawing inward. It's about reaching out, too, forging new partnerships on their own terms. In a world that is increasingly interconnected, the opportunity to establish mutually beneficial relationships with a diverse set of partners is a compelling one. It's about shaking off the shackles of a monolithic relationship and embracing the possibilities that come with a diverse, multifaceted approach to international relations. These nations imagine a future where they are not mere spectators in the global arena, but active participants. They envision a world where their voices are heard, their interests are prioritized, and their prosperity is secured. A world where they are not defined by their past, but by their aspirations for the future. The road to this future is not without its hurdles, but the desire for economic improvement, the yearning for self-sufficiency, the dream of a better future, these are powerful motivators. They fuel the drive for dissociation, propelling these nations forward on their journey. The desire for economic improvement is a powerful motivator, driving these nations towards a future of their own making. The road towards dissociation and economic improvement is fraught with challenges, yet it is a journey these nations are willing to undertake. As we delve into the road ahead for these African nations, it's crucial to remember that the path to self-reliance and prosperity is not a smooth one. Firstly, there's the ever-present risk of instability. As these countries strive to break away from their colonial pasts and establish their own identities, they might face internal disputes and political unrest. Change, especially of this magnitude, is often met with resistance. This resistance can sometimes escalate into conflict, threatening the stability and peace of these nations. Next, there's the daunting task of building and upgrading infrastructure. Roads, schools, hospitals, and other public facilities are vital for economic development. However, constructing and maintaining these infrastructures require substantial funds, expertise, and time. With limited resources and the absence of Western aid, this becomes a Herculean task for these nations. Investment, both local and foreign, is another key factor in the journey towards economic improvement. While dissociating from Western influences may open the door for new investors, it can also deter some who are wary of the changing political landscape. Therefore, these nations must create an environment that is conducive to investment, balancing the need for national autonomy with the desire to attract global capital. Moreover, the potential backlash from other global powers cannot be ignored. As these nations assert their independence, they might ruffle some feathers on the global stage. How they navigate these diplomatic waters will play a significant role in their success or failure. Lastly, there's the issue of time. Economic improvement is not an overnight process. It requires patience, resilience, and a willingness to weather the storms that come their way. Despite the obstacles, the vision of a prosperous future fuels the determination of these nations. The road ahead is steep and winding, but the hope of a better tomorrow propels them forward. After all, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So, what have we unearthed about the complex relationship between France and its former African colonies? We've taken a deep dive into the intricate and often fraught ties between France and its former colonies, like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, revealing a narrative that is as compelling as it is complex. We've explored the reasons that have led these nations to actively seek dissociation from France and other Western influences. These reasons are manifold, yet they all converge on a central theme: the aspiration for self-determination and autonomy. From political sovereignty to cultural preservation, These nations are keenly aware of the need to carve out their own independent identity on the global stage. In the quest for economic improvement, these countries are not merely severing ties, they are also forging new ones. We've seen how they are turning towards alternative alliances, exploring new markets, and harnessing local resources. The hope is that these strategies will foster economic growth, reduce dependency, and ultimately enhance the quality of life for their citizens. Yet, the road ahead is not without its challenges. From establishing robust governance structures to managing economic volatility, these nations have their work cut out for them. But as we've seen, they are not deterred. Instead, they are motivated by the prospect of a future defined on their own terms. The journey of these countries is a testament to the resilience of nations, a story of transformation that is still being written. It is a narrative that serves as a reminder of how history continues to shape our present, and how the actions of today can lay the foundation for a different tomorrow. As we watch these nations chart their own paths, we are reminded of the enduring impact of history and the power of a nation's determination to shape its own destiny.